Hi everyone, I'm Stu G. I was a founder member of the band Delirious, and currently I am lead guitar player with Michael W. Smith. And so we've done some tutorials for you that are Delirious songs and Michael W. Smith songs, and I hope you enjoy them. We've created some presets for the Helix that all these tutorials are recorded with, just straight out of the Helix. Also got some Kemper performances as well. And if you're interested in those, if you like the sound of them and want to get them, there's a link below. And I just hope that you enjoy learning these songs. So the song Secret Ambition is an amazing recording and a fantastic playing from, I think it's 1988 or it's late 80s. And so for the two songs that I've done with Michael for these tutorials, I created like an 80s preset. And it was fun because I got to chat through with some players who were playing for Michael at the time, and find out what kind of rig they were doing. So they had the racks of Bradshaw stuff, and we're predominantly using like Marshall heads and a load of Messer heads. They'd be using the amp heads for all the tone, you know, all the drive and what have you. Very few pedals in front of the actual amps, and then post they'd be mixing in reverbs and choruses, spatial expander type sounds, or and delays and things like that. And so anyway, what I've done here is I've built an 80s preset with two amps, a clean amp, which I've chosen the JC 120, and then a Mesa style model, and we've got our own IRs in there of cabs that I've got. So I've got a vintage 30 cab in there, and there we are. So I've kind of built this out as close as I possibly can to a rack kind of 80s rig. And you know, so one of the things that really kind of defines that sound is just the sort of stereo chorusing that is kind of on everything. So in the Helix there's a brilliant pedal, the Trinity chorus is fantastic. So it's got like it's kind of like a dimension, you know, it's a tri-chorus basically. Secret Ambition, how do we play that? So it's kind of complicated, right? I mean, it's not an easy song to play. The player who did the solos and stuff like that, a guy called Dan Huff, and Chris Rodriguez used to play with Michael, and Tony Palacios, and they're just awesome shredders. And so I've had to learn to get as close as I can to their parts. Now, when I started playing with Michael, I had over 30 songs to learn for like one tour. And so on a song like this, there was no way I was going to kind of be able to nail every single little tiny detail of what they played. But I just wanted to get it as close as I possibly could. So on the playthrough there, you'll see that, I was kind of off a little bit in terms of what Dan was playing, not on the solo, but on all the other stuff. And I've just over the years put my how I feel the song and play that. So the first sound in Secret Ambition is like a clean amp with a little bit of dirt from a pedal and the big chorus, and there's a bit of delay and reverb on there, but as always, things always sound better with delay and reverb, right? So in the 80s, we used to use the whammy bar a bit, and so we kind of dip into the chord, and it simply like this. And then most of the time I'm letting the keyboards and what have you kind of take and the bass take the changes, and I'm just kind of marking the chords, That pretty much covers every verse, but it's just that style of playing and just picking out those two notes, which is kind of a little signature hook. Then when it comes to the chorus, we add a little bit of drive. We're now on like an overdriven amp. Here my approach was to kind of put together a live performance, not necessarily playing exactly what was on the record, but to add a little bit of power. So on the record, what you can hear is this kind of chop sound. Which is just basically going through the changes, which is kind of, you know, it's in E, so like the sort of C sharp minor moves A and B and stuff like that. But the way I play it when I'm adding power is I'll start on the C sharp minor, go down to the A, and then the bass is doing E, F sharp, A, and then the second time round E, F sharp, and then that going back to E. So anyway, this is what it looked like. So moving on to the solo section, when I listened to this for the first time, I was kind of like, how on earth am I ever going to do this? And the way I learn how to play a solo or any tune really is I listen to it and listen to it and listen to it until I can sort of sing it in my head, if that's possible. And then, you know, when I'm actually working the notes out and what have you, I know if I'm going wrong then, right? So I'm a big advocate of just listening until you can sing something, and if you can sing it, you can work out how to play it. The other thing I'm very grateful for is that when I learned the guitar, my tutor just slammed into me time and time again the need for me to learn the major scale in every position, you know. So like E major scale in the first position is down here, and so on, right? And then 2 is there, 3 is there, 4, 5, etc. And so you learn the major scale in every position. I was very grateful for that, because that big fast run that happens is basically the E major scale. But I'll show you that in a second. So it starts off with on the top E string, and you kind of trill it. Right? And then you use the whammy bar. Right? That's all E major scale, right? And then there's a big bend up at the 19th fret. So you're bending that up a whole step, going up to the equivalent note on the high E string. Right? So, and then it bends up, and then it runs down like super fast on the E major scale. So that's literally what it does, but it's really fast. And then climbs back up again, E major scale, but a little bit of arpeggio. Right, so that's really slow, and then it jumps an octave. So you've just played, then octave up, and finishes on the E. And then we're kind of pinching some harmonics, right? So it goes, the way I count it is once I do this last note, I count, if that E is 1, I count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm basically going up an octave from the E on the D string here. And I'm pinching those harmonics. So if I go from this little part of the lick here, octave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I turn the volume up, you'll hear that pinched harmonic, hopefully. That's a lot to practice there. When it comes to the outro, I pick up some of the things that they do on the record, but I'm kind of, you know, doing it in my way. So I pick out certain things like this line here. Like Michael likes that line, so I do that. And you can have fun with kind of jamming around on that outro because it's either in the E major scale or like in the relative minor, so like the C sharp minor pentatonic. You know, you can you can mess around in E major or C minor all day on that. So I hope that's helpful, and I hope you have fun with Secret Ambition.